My name is Elena Ward, and I'm 29 years old. I've always been careful with money, not because I'm cheap, but because I learned early what happens when you're not. I grew up watching my mother rebuild her life after my father emptied their joint account and vanished. No dramatic goodbye, no explanation, just an empty checking account and a woman standing in a kitchen staring at numbers that no longer made sense. I promised myself I'd never be in that position. Not because I didn't believe in love, but because I believed love should never require blindness. Which is why it still surprises me how quickly I fell for Ryan. We matched in late July. He was 30, worked in product marketing, and had this calm confidence that made everything feel grounded. Our first date was supposed to be coffee. It turned into lunch, then a long walk through the city, then drinks we didn't plan on having. 6 hours passed without effort. By the end of the night, I remember thinking this feels easy. Dangerous thought, but I let myself have it. He talked about wanting stability, about being tired of chaos. He joked about how his last relationship taught him boundaries, though he never went into details. I didn't push. At the time, it felt respectful not to. By week 3, he was staying over most nights. He brought a gym bag at first, then clothes, then his work laptop. It didn't feel rushed, it felt organic. He cooked. He remembered small things. He asked about my clients and actually listened when I explained what I did. I work freelance. My laptop isn't just a device, it's my income, my archive, my safety net. The first red flag didn't wave, it whispered. He mentioned casually that he was between places, staying with a friend temporarily. His old roommate situation had gone south. I asked what happened. He shrugged, smiled, said long story. I didn't press. I should have. The conversation happened on a Saturday morning about 8 weeks in. I'd made breakfast. Pancakes. The easy kind of domestic moment that tricks you into thinking you're further along than you are. He was scrolling through his phone when he looked up at me, serious in a way he hadn't been before. I've been thinking, he said. I really love being here with you. This feels like home. Something tightened in my chest. In a good way. I love having you here, I said, because it was true. He hesitated. I'm tired of living out of a bag. My friend needs her space back. Have you found places to look at? I asked. He set his phone down. Actually, I was wondering why I'm looking at all when I'm here all the time anyway. I froze fork midair. You mean, move in? Why not? He said easily. We practically live together already. It would save money. We'd get more time. I put the fork down carefully. Ryan, we've been dating 2 months. Almost 3, he corrected, smiling. And when you know, you know. There it was. That phrase. The one that sounds romantic until it's used to rush you. I like where we are, I said slowly. But moving in is a big step. I think we should give it time. His expression shifted. Just slightly. So you don't see a future with me? That's not what I said. I just think 2 months is fast. My parents moved in together after 6 weeks, he said. They've been married 30 years. I'm happy for them, I replied. I just want to be careful. He went quiet, then smiled again. I get it. You're cautious. That's actually something I like about you. Relief washed through me. I thanked him. We finished breakfast. The tension seemed gone. Then, as if remembering something small, he added, unless? I looked up. What if you added me to your lease? I laughed at first, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. Just as a formality, he continued quickly. I'd still get my own place. It would help with applications. Show stable housing. I wouldn't even have to pay rent. It's more about security. I stared at him. That doesn't make sense. If you're getting your own place, why would you need to be on my lease? He leaned back. It's about trust, Elena. If you really trust me, you'd do it. There it was, the test. I thought of my mother, of empty accounts, of signatures that look harmless until they aren't. You're right, I said calmly. Maybe I don't trust you that much. The silence that followed was arctic. He stood up, untouched pancakes cooling on the table. I need to think, he said, and disappeared into the bedroom. An hour later, he came out smiling, apologetic, said stress got to him, said he understood. We ordered takeout, watched a movie. He kissed me goodnight like nothing had changed. But something had. I just didn't know yet what it would cost me. I woke up Sunday morning at 9:46 a.m. to a quiet that felt wrong. At first, I didn't register it. My brain was still half asleep, reaching automatically for the weight of another body beside me. The space was empty. The sheets on his side were cold. Not recently cold, unused cold. I told myself he'd gone out for coffee. Ryan liked his little routines. I rolled over, checked my phone. No text, no missed call, nothing. Then I noticed the floor. The gym bag that usually sat by the dresser was gone. The chair where he tossed his jacket empty. I pushed myself up, heart starting to beat faster, and walked into the bathroom. His toothbrush was gone. Not moved. Gone. The charger he kept plugged in near the couch missing. The hoodie he always stole from my closet missing. I went back into the bedroom, scanning harder now. The way you do when your body knows something your mind is still trying to argue with. I walked to my desk. The space where my laptop should have been was empty. For a moment I just stood there, staring, waiting for my eyes to correct themselves. They didn't. My laptop was a MacBook Pro less than a year old. Every client file, every contract, every backup. It wasn't just expensive. It was my livelihood. I called him. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Same thing. I texted, "Where are you? Did you take my laptop?" No response. I checked the apartment again, slower this time. My tablet was still there. My wallet. My keys. Jewelry untouched. Clothes untouched. Just his things. And my laptop. My hands were shaking when my phone buzzed at 11:28 a.m. "Ryan, I needed to borrow it for work. I'll bring it back." I called him immediately. This time he answered. "You took my laptop without asking," I said, not bothering to soften it. "I needed it for a presentation," he replied, irritated. "Mine died last night." "You don't take someone's work computer without permission." "Relax," he said. "I'll bring it back." "That's not the point. You can't just, where are you? Why are you making this a thing?" "Because it is a thing. I have work to do today." I said, "I'll bring it back tonight." "No, I need it now. Tell me where you are." There was a pause, then his tone changed. "God, Elena, you're being really controlling right now." That word landed hard, familiar, heavy. "This isn't about control," I said. "This is about my property." "We're dating," he snapped. "Couples borrow things. Borrowing requires asking." Silence. Then the line went dead. He didn't bring it back that night, or the next morning. By Monday afternoon, I'd left 8 voicemails and sent more texts than I want to admit. Calm at first, then firmer, then just factual. Finally, Tuesday morning, a message came through. "Ryan, stop harassing me. I'll return your precious laptop when I'm ready." That's when it clicked. This wasn't forgetfulness. This wasn't stress. This was retaliation. He wasn't punishing me for distrusting him. He was punishing me for saying no. I called the police non-emergency line, my voice steady in a way that surprised me. The officer was polite, sympathetic, careful with his words. "It's a gray area," he said. "You were in a relationship. He had access. He can claim permission." "I have the receipt," I said. "Serial number. Purchase date." "That helps. You can file a report." My advice is to try to get him to return it in a public place. I filed it anyway. Case number recorded. Something on paper. I texted Ryan. "I filed a police report. Return my laptop by end of day or I press charges." He called immediately. "You did what he shouted." I filed a report for theft. "You're insane," he said. "I was going to bring it back." "Great. Where and when?" "This is exactly why I hesitated with you," he snapped. "You're paranoid. You treat people like criminals. You took something that doesn't belong to you and refused to return it." "Fine," he said coldly. "Starbucks on Maple, 6. I got there early. I waited. 6:15, 6:30. He never showed. At 7:14 p.m., a text came from a number I didn't recognize. It was a photo of my laptop. The screen was shattered. Glass spiderwebbed across black. Liquid pooled near the keyboard. The message read, "Oops, it fell. You can grab it from the dumpster behind 847 Oak if you want it." My stomach dropped. I drove there anyway. And that's when I realized saying no to the lease hadn't protected me from damage. It had only changed the kind. I sat in my car for a full minute before getting out. The address he sent led to an apartment complex I didn't recognize, one of those clusters of identical buildings with dim security lights and overflowing dumpsters shoved toward the back like an afterthought. The air smelled like wet cardboard and old food. I found the dumpster. My laptop was exactly where he said it would be. The screen was destroyed beyond repair. The metal casing was bent like it had been dropped more than once. When I lifted it, liquid dripped from the keyboard onto my shoes. I didn't cry. Not then. I took photos, close-ups, wide shots, the serial number sticker, the surrounding area, the text message still glowing on my phone. Then I wrapped the laptop in a trash bag and drove home. The next morning, I walked into the police station with the destroyed computer under my arm. The same officer reviewed everything more carefully this time. The photos, the messages, the unfamiliar phone number. "That text didn't come from his known number?" he asked. No, he could deny it was him. He told me where to find it. He can say someone else sent that. I stared at him. So he just gets away with it. He sighed. You can sue him in small claims court for the value. Criminally, this would likely be misdemeanor criminal mischief. And even then he could argue it was accidental. Accidental. I nodded because I didn't trust myself to speak. On the walk back to my car, something inside me shifted. Not rage, not grief. Focus. That afternoon, I started documenting everything. Screenshots of every message, call logs, the police report number, the purchase receipt $2,487 8 months earlier, photos of the damage from every angle. Then I did what I should have done weeks ago. I searched his full name online. Nothing at first. Clean. Too clean. So I added keywords. Ryan plus scam, Ryan plus roommate, Ryan plus theft. Still nothing. I remembered what he'd said early on. My last roommate situation went south. So I searched that, and that's when I found it. A removed post from the local Reddit community partially quoted in the comments. Beware of this roommate. Different name, same story. Fast-moving relationship, pressure to be added to a lease, sudden disappearance, property stolen. My hands went cold. I messaged the user who'd quoted it. Within an hour, he replied, "I'm really sorry. He's done this before. After I said no to the lease, he took my gaming console and disappeared. Police report went nowhere. He never showed up to court." I stared at the screen, heart pounding. I wasn't special. I was next. I asked if he knew where Ryan lived. Couch surfing, he wrote. That's part of how he avoids being served. What about work, I asked. He said he's in marketing. I don't think that's real, he replied. I think this is what he does. The room felt smaller. I contacted the company he'd claimed to work for. They'd never heard of him. The address on his dating profile, vacant lot. Mutual acquaintances from the app None had real information. He'd evaporated, and with every dead end, the truth became clearer. Nothing about him had been accidental. Not the charm, not the timing, not the lease request. The laptop wasn't the goal. Access was. 2 weeks passed. Not the kind where things slowly return to normal, but the kind where time stretches heavy and distorted while you replay every conversation you thought meant something. I'd replaced my laptop with a temporary one borrowed from a friend, rebuilt what I could from cloud backups, lost 2 clients who couldn't wait, explained to others without explaining too much, personal issue, unexpected setback, polite phrases that hid how exposed I felt. Then a Facebook friend request appeared. The name was Marissa Chen. Her profile was nearly empty. 1 photo, no public posts, but the message that came with it made my chest tighten. I think we dated the same man. I accepted immediately and called her. She answered on the first ring. "I'm so sorry," she said before I could even speak. "I saw your comment on a local freelance thread last week. Your name looked familiar. He posted a picture of you once." "He posted me?" I asked. "Yes, about a month into your relationship. Captioned something like, 'Found my person.'" The room tilted. Marissa's story unfolded in a way that felt disturbingly rehearsed, not by her, but by him. They'd met online 3 months before he met me. Dated for 6 weeks. He talked about instability, about an ex-girlfriend who ruined his credit. He asked her to co-sign a car loan temporarily. When she refused, he disappeared, along with several designer handbags and jewelry she'd left at his place. Total value just over $4,000. "I filed a police report," she said. "By the time they followed up, he was gone." I swallowed. "How did you find me?" "I tracked his digital trail," she said calmly. "He deleted most accounts, but he's sloppy. I work in IT security. Patterns show up if you know where to look." She wasn't alone. There was Ethan, who let him use his address for mail. Credit cards opened. Debt accumulated. Credit ruined. There was Priya, who loaned him money for emergency medical bills. Never saw it again. Different cities, different names. Same script. "I tried going to the police," Marissa said. "No one wanted it. Too small, too scattered." "So what do we do?" I asked. She paused. "We warn people." And just like that, the story stopped being about what he took from me and became about what he was still taking from others. We built a document. Names, dates, aliases, photos, known methods. He'd used at least 3 last names. None of them were likely real. We didn't speculate. We documented. Within days, messages started coming in. Quiet ones, careful ones. "This sounds like my ex. Did he ever say he was between apartments? Did he ask about your lease?" "Yes, yes, yes." The pattern was undeniable. And the most chilling part, he never stayed long enough to get angry. Only long enough to get leverage. We didn't call it revenge. That would have implied emotion, impulse, something reckless. What we were doing was quieter than that. Marissa created a shared drive and gave us access in tiers. Dates, screenshots, police report numbers, archived messages, copies of listings where stolen items had been resold. Everything was labeled time-stamped, cross-referenced. Clean, clinical, impossible to dismiss as exaggeration. We built a private website first. Nothing flashy, no accusations in bold letters, just facts. Known aliases, known photos, known methods. How he moves fast. How he pressures for access. What he asks for when you say no. We posted warnings in local subreddits, dating safety forums, roommate boards, anywhere someone might search his name or reverse image search his face. And it worked. Within 2 weeks, 3 more people reached out. One of them was different. A man named Daniel. He didn't just lose property. He lost his identity. Ryan, under another name, had used Daniel's address to open multiple credit accounts. Not just small ones. Lines that crossed state borders. Amounts that triggered automated federal flags. Daniel had documentation, letters, credit reports, an attorney. This time the pattern was too large to ignore. That's when law enforcement called us. Not the other way around. They asked for everything. And for the first time, we weren't explaining. We were confirming. 3 months after my laptop ended up in a dumpster, Ryan was arrested at an airport trying to board a flight using credit cards that didn't belong to him. No dramatic confrontation. No final speech. Just consequences. He couldn't make bail. The district attorney contacted all of us. Built a case that spanned jurisdictions. Fraud. Identity-related charges. A timeline that showed escalation. I won't get my money back. I knew that before they even said it. But I also knew something else. If I'd said yes to the lease, I wouldn't have just lost a laptop. I would have lost my home. People kept asking if it felt like closure. It didn't, at least not the way movies promise it will. There was no moment where I suddenly felt light again. No instant relief. What there was, though, was quiet. The kind that settles in when you stop bracing for impact. The district attorney warned us not to expect restitution. Too many victims. Too little money left. I nodded when they told me already at peace with it. The laptop had become a symbol, not a loss. Replaceable. Everything else hadn't been. I went back to freelancing slowly. Rebuilt files, reconnected with clients who were willing to come back. Bought a new laptop, insured this time, backed up in 3 places. Practical changes. Necessary ones. I wasn't dating. Not because I was afraid, but because I wasn't in a hurry to fill the space with someone new just to prove I'd moved on. A few weeks later, my mother called. She didn't interrupt, just listened, while I told her everything from the pancakes to the lease to the dumpster behind an apartment complex I'd never heard of. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I'm proud of you," for what I asked. "For saying no," she replied. "That's the moment that saved you." She was right. If I'd added him to my lease, he could have stayed indefinitely, brought other people in, destroyed the apartment. I would have needed an eviction process to remove him. Months, maybe longer. My home would have stopped being mine in every way that mattered. Instead, I lost a computer. I can live with that. I'm not cynical about love now, just clearer. When someone pushes for legal or financial access early, it's not romance, it's leverage. When someone reacts with anger to reasonable boundaries, they're not hurt, they're exposed. And if anyone ever asks me 2 months in to put their name on my lease, I'll smile and say calmly and without apology, "You're right. Maybe I don't trust you that much." Because sometimes protecting yourself means being okay with looking like the villain in someone else's story, especially when they were never the hero in yours.